Hi everyone, I just wanted to do a quick little video for you and kind of give you a little bit of an idea what exactly you can use the new rollers I have for. Um, First there is this little one. I kind of, when I had these made, I wanted them for some very specific reasons, and the more I thought about it, I thought maybe, if I want them, maybe someone else would be able to put them to good use. So I went ahead and had them made. So what I want to do is tell you a little bit why I wanted them. And so this first one, this is called Round It. And this quilt is a good example. So when I do my applique, I tend to do a lot of applique quilts. And I really like to have, these curved corners on my pieces. But the problem I was running into is, as you can see on this one, so ideally what I wanted to do was stitch in the ditch here, here. I really wanted to be able to come in a 1/4 inch from the edge. But, I tried it a few times, ended up ripping out a lot, because the problem was this. So I would stitch up here with my straight ruler. You come here. I didn't have a curve. I mean, yeah, I had some small template, so I would grab the small template, stick it here, try to stitch around it. Then I'd have to pull back in my straight ruler to do this part. And of course, you know how that goes. So now I have this spot here and this spot here, which gives me, the possibility for bobbles there as I stop and start again, which I had. So after ripping it out a few times, I just made the line straight because that was my only option. So this quilt in particular really made me realize I need these rulers. And so what I did was, this one has, you can see, it goes from 3/4 of an inch. Here is the smallest curve. So each corner is a different curve. It has the lines through the diagonal lines through there, so you know where the center of the circle is. One important thing, these circles, the sizing that is on there, that is not the size circle that it's going to stitch. That's the circle that it fits on. And so the reason I wanted this was because when I draft up my applique pieces, I always make a note as to what size circle I use to round the edge. Because what I want to, and now what I've actually been doing is now I can use this ruler to go ahead and draft the shapes too. But so I know when I look at this, I know that I used a 1 inch circle to round that. So what that tells me is that to stitch that in the ditch, I need to go down to the 3/4 inch circle. Hold, and then with that 1/4 of an inch away, it's going to stitch the 1 inch. So then, if I want to stitch 1/4 of an inch inside the shape, I'm just going to turn it to the next 1/4 inch bigger, which is 1 inch. I would put it right on the stitch in the ditch line, and then stitch here, which would give me my 1/4 inch. And so this is the way that, because a circle, you can't just line the 1/4 inch up. It doesn't, the curve changes as it gets bigger or smaller. So I really needed to have, and if you wanted to continue to go, for the next one you would just turn to the next circle. Or if it were the opposite way, you would go down in size for each one. And I also wanted to make sure that it was big enough that I could go straight, curve, and then straight a little bit, and then slide or readjust here, rather than having any bobbles where I'm having to move and readjust the ruler on the actual corner. And the other one is called Around the Corner. And this I kind of wanted for a few different reasons. You can see that there is the line here for lining up. Let's say you wanted to just go stitch right around this and move it up. You can easily do that because I've gone ahead and had the lines put on this way. But that really necessarily wasn't what I wanted it for. I wanted it to be able, again, to do a whole curved corner without stopping and starting here or here and having bobbles in my lines. But I also wanted it for this. So, I do a fair amount of straight line stitching, and a lot of times in my quilts I'll have maybe an odd angle that's not necessarily, a normal dimension. And so what happens is I want to be able to come up here, and whatever that angle is, I just want to be able to pivot it. You know, so if it's maybe some improv piecing where the shapes are really oddly angled, I can stitch up, and let's say I need to go up here. Then as I come up here, I can just pause, pivot the whole roller, and continue on. I don't want to have to come up here with a straight roller, stop, move the whole roller up to here. It makes that a lot easier. And you can do the same with the corner. So those were the reasons that I really initially wanted these rollers. But once I got them, and I played around with them a little on paper, you know, I threw some fabric on here and I did some actual stitched samples. And I'm just in love with them now. So this little rounded roller, like I said before, you know, when you go around a curve, if you just try to stitch a curve, line up the line with the stitching, it's not going to line up. You're really just going to be lining up the edges because the curve wouldn't be the same. So this one, what this enables you to do is to get them stitched evenly so it stays the 1/4 inch. And all you do is you start with one, you would stitch your line, and you turn it to the next size, stitch, next size, stitch, and it keeps them a perfect 1/4 inch between. And I've done that on this design as well. Okay, you can, and my preference, you can see on this design, so you can see that on this curve, they're not exactly a 1/4 inch here. Here I used a 1/2 inch spacing and here 1/4 inch spacing, so these are all even and these are all even. But that curve is kind of organic, I guess you could say. It kind of gets wider. It's not staying even here. And I've done the same here. It's a little bit oddly shaped. I like that. I really like that it's not perfectly even. And this was another one of the reasons I did want this roller, because I had been marking this design. And the cool thing is, so because I put the 1/4, you know, you have the 1/4 inch things here. So I was able to stitch in my initial line here. And then for the next one, this one I'm going to line up with the stitching. The top one I put a 1/4 on the 1/4 inch mark. So then as I stitch, it gives you the skinny and wide, and I just continued to do that as I went, and it makes for this uneven look. So I like that one. And then here you can see this simply was me going around the outside of this roller, and then I slid it up, did the inside and another angle, and then I just filled those in with a fill design in the center. This was another neat one that, you know, I just marked some random wavy lines. I grabbed this little roller and I didn't rotate it at all. I just picked a curve and stitched, slid up, stitched, and just continued to go. Some I made wider, some are narrow, and it really didn't matter. I just continued to kind of curve it, aiming to have the curve in the center, and it really came out neat. And I did the same here. And with this one, it was just randomly marked lines, but this time I used the inside of the big ruler to stitch, move, stitch, move. And you could easily, I guess, draw a line here, but I mean, it worked, just kind of eyeballing, reaching for the center there. And then here, I kind of played around with the big one. And you can see again what I mean. I mean, yes, it's a 1/4 inch here, 1/4 inch here, but if you look at these points, it's really not perfectly a 1/4 inch. And I'm okay with that. I mean, I really love, I don't know, I really like that